All right, so today let's talk about the media's influence. So, when we consider how big of an influence media has, we really have to look at how many things like what is our access to media. Almost every American has at least one TV in their home. And when you consider how many TVs are in your home, a lot of Americans have more than one TV. More and more Americans are using the internet for news, and while newspapers and magazines and people talking about things are where people do get some information, still the internet is becoming a larger influence on our perspective on things. And where does that all come from? If we back up a second, we have our very first televised presidential debate. It happened in 1960, and a big chunk of Americans did not have a TV, and so they heard the debate on the radio. And what ends up happening is that the people who heard it on the news or on the radio heard Richard Nixon's strong voice coming through, and he sounded strong and intelligent and capable, and they weren't influenced by anything by other than what he was saying in his words. And while JFK sounded fine, he just didn't have as many amazing things to say that resonated with people. People who saw it on TV, though, were really influenced by the fact that you had a taller man who was tan, and ladies thought he was very attractive, next to a shorter, a man who had just been sick over the previous weekend, so he had a slight paleness to him. And he was sweating underneath the lights, and somebody had told him that he should wear makeup, which no judgment on that one. Don't judge him, because most actors now, almost all actors, do wear makeup. And sweating underneath hot lights with makeup running off his face. People who watched this on TV thought that Richard Nixon had won the election, and people who saw it on TV thought JFK had won the debate, and people who heard it on the radio were thinking that Richard Nixon had won. And it was our very first polarizing thing that we could tell. Media is going to make a big influence on things. So when we're talking about propaganda, now propaganda is a way for us to advertise on behalf of something, and we've got 6 different categories for things that we use. The first type of propaganda would be just plain folk, and so this is when people are trying to act just like regular people. That I'm just like you. And so if we look here we have a president in a picture, and he's sitting on the back of a truck, and he's got a cowboy hat on and a half-empty Coke bottle with some ripped and torn, dirty jeans and a t-shirt, and he's clearly looking like he's the boss. However, he's looking like this could be anybody. And so this picture was passed around because he's just like a normal person. Here we have just a dad walking along with his kids, and they're carrying their own shoes, and no nanny around. He's got his cargo pants, his dad pants on, and he's looking just like we do. So this is some just plain folk. Here's a presidential candidate. He's got to carry his own little boogie board out there. The first lady, and she's having to contemplate which cell phone she wants to hold. And so, she's in Target, and so this picture would be passed around to show how normal she is. Name calling is when you're going to use nasty language, derogatory is the word here, to describe your opponent. And so here are 2 commercials you can feel free to watch on your own. If we look at this bumper sticker, this is not a compliment. And what it's trying to say is, if you elect the Romney-Ryan ticket, if you vote for them, you're restoring America's aristocracy. If you recall back to what an aristocracy is, it's when you have rich people running the government. So not a compliment. This right here is also not a compliment for Barack Obama, because it's in regards to an event that happened. But in this bumper sticker, they're calling the president ignorant. Bandwagon is the idea that everyone else should do this. So I was anti Obama before it was cool because, like when I first started teaching, I remember every student I had was either for Obama or was scared to say anything against Obama because everybody loved Obama. Well, then as the recession got worse and people were blaming the president, um, everybody started slowly turning, and so that Obama was to blame for a lot of things. And so that's kind of what this is talking about. Now, on the opposite side of things, he saved our jobs, and everybody's wearing the T-shirt. So, the lady with the white pants is going to wear the T-shirt because her friend next to her is wearing the T-shirt. Or if you're one of those that you're going to have signs up in your yards and you're going to put up a sign that supports your candidate because your neighbor has one that supports that candidate. Or maybe you've seen one of these, and it doesn't just have to apply to politics. That if you've became a Carolina Panthers fan because the Panthers went to the Super Bowl, or what this young man right here is doing. Endorsements are when you get endorsements from famous people. So here we have some celebrities that are endorsing Barack Obama. Hopefully you recognize some of them. Now here we have Clint Eastwood. Now Clint Eastwood is another celebrity he was advocating for people. And so that's a video you can watch on your own. Slogans and symbols. Now these are things like little jingles or little things that get, just do it, or, the little Keebler elf, little things that when you see it, you know exactly what it stands for. This right here was the Romney-Ryan ticket symbol, and you got your R's, it's red, white, and blue. I know you've seen these before, so we've got change we can believe in, which if we really think about it, what does that mean? Someone doesn't believe in change? Because it does happen. And then there's a whole lot you got the sky behind him, so it's kind of like the, infinity type thing. You got supporters, so there's bandwagon going on back here. And then where is he looking? He's looking off into the distance, like he can predict the future. All of this would be symbolic of something. And then we have Romney, believe in America. And again, what does that mean exactly? America exists. What is he trying to say? But he's got his symbol up here of Romney-Ryan with the red, white, and blue. He's patriotic. There's nothing going on, like just a white space behind him. So again, there's an emptiness of that the possibilities are limitless, and he's looking off into the future. So again, he can predict the future. Now, when I'm probably missing stuff, but this is somebody's job. So if you're ever interested in this type of thing, like this is somebody, like they're supposed to make up cool things like this right here. It's full of representations of different things. We got the O that stands for Obama. We've got our red, white, and blue, so we've kind of got like the American flag. But then it could also look like a field, and it's kind of so that again you've got the horizon that where could the future is limitless on where the amazing possibilities that we could go. And then there's a State Farm commercial. Card stacking is something that people do all the time. Is when you make yourself sound awesome, but you're not really saying all the whole side. So say, for example, I said that I had the highest scores in civics in the entire county. Now, what I'm not saying is that I'm the only teacher who teaches civics in the county. I'm not. However, that's one of those things that you could sit there and try to say, like if you tell your parents, well, nobody's doing well in math class. Well, when we say well, what are you really trying to say? Because what if the girl next to you, she says she doesn't have a 100, she's got a 99, so she doesn't consider that she's doing really well. That you're not really stating the entire truth. You're kind of stacking your cards up to make yourself look better on one side or the other. So when we talk about this campaigning, who pays for all of it? Well, candidates are supposed to put forth at least $100,000 in order to get started. And so they're supposed to raise that money from the public. Political parties will also do things where, Donald Trump wanted the Republicans to get behind him and support him because he needed not only their support, but also if he can get the Republican financial support behind him, that's also going to help. Hillary Clinton wanted the Democrats to support her for the same exact reason. Now, both the Clintons and the Trumps are clearly very wealthy. However, rich people stay rich by spending other people's money. Um, Interest groups, so if they can get like the NRA, which is the National Rifle Association, they give money to the Republicans, and Republicans will then advocate for rights of um, for gun rights whenever they're in charge. Democrats, the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, they tend to give more money to Democrats. And again, so Democrats will advocate for rights of African Americans while they're up there. Political action committees all they do is raise money. That's their job, is to raise money, and then they get that money in the hands of people who can spend it and get change to happen in our government. So this is just PACs, is what we call them for short, and PACs are just all about raising money. Interest groups, so those are some of the ones I was just talking about, are people who have common interests and attempt to try to change what the government's doing. So I've got a couple examples over here before I get to my examples, political parties need interest groups, but not to elect candidates. Political parties are responsible for electing candidates, but interest groups are going to hire a lobbyist, and here's the definition for a lobbyist. Lobbyists are just people who bother people. So they're going to get up there, the NRA or the AARP, like my grandparents get flyers from the Association for Advancement of Retired People. And so the AARP is going to have people who work for them who go to Congress and sit there and pester them about making things better for retired citizens. NRA is going to do stuff for guns. The National Education Association is going to fight for the rights of education, educators or students. And so there are thousands and thousands of interest groups because they're going to go up there and they're going to try to make a difference in what our politicians are doing. Because our politicians don't know everything about everything. And so these interest groups are going to be experts in their field. Some clear examples, we've got the NAACP, you need to write these down. Your AARP, which is your Association for the Advancement of Retired People. Here's your NRA. You have Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You have your American Civil Liberties Union. And they fight for the rights of making sure that people are being treated equally and fairly. You have environmental groups. You have women's group. You have, men's groups. You have children's groups. I mean, there's so many groups, and these groups are typically like you can get involved and once you get involved and give them money, they'll take that money and dedicate it to try to get laws that are going to help you get what you want. So lobbyists, not only do they gather information, but they're going to work with Congress, and they're going to call you and send you things and try to get you to send their money. I know people who belong to the NRA, and I know people who belong to the Sierra Club. And the Sierra Club are those are your save the whales type peoples, where they want to save the environment type stuff. And that's what they're trying to do, is make sure that people are paying attention to the issue that they care about the most. So you can watch that video on your own. That's a cartoon I don't like. And that's the end of this video.